Yo, what is going on, all you sexy YouTube maniacs? My name is Mr. Spade, and this is the first part of the new series, my League of Legends series called Gravedigger. This is going to be my outline of my favorite champion, Graves, his skills, the runes you're supposed to use, masteries that you can use, ability selection, items, all that good stuff that you need in order to master a champion to his maximum capacity. So let's get right into this, guys. This one is going to be about ability selection and how to use his abilities to his maximum potential. Very important for every champion, of course, because knowing how to use his abilities and how you select them is one of the most important things, of course, because, well, let's face it, you're using your abilities the most in the game anyways. So let's get right into this, shall we? Let's start with his first ability, his active one, called Buckshot. Now, this is his Q power, and what this does is it allows Graves to fire 3 bullets in a cone, damaging all enemies in its path. Now, this is extremely helpful early game, and I would suggest maxing this as fast as possible. Get 1 point into this at the very beginning, and then start putting points into it again at level 4, and then mastering it as soon as you right after that as you gain levels up. So this one is very helpful as it goes through enemies no matter what. It'll go right to the end of its range. You'll see me use it a lot in the middle, in the early game and initiating fights. It's very helpful, and it's a lot different than stuff like Volley of Arrows, which is Ash's main volley power, and that only hits the first target in its range. This one will go to the end of its range, so very helpful. Next one we have is Smokescreen. Now, Smokescreen allows Graves to fire a smoke canister at the target area, creating a cloud of smoke. Enemies within the smoke cloud have reduced sight range and movement speed. This is Graves' main ganking power. What you want to do is you want to cast a Smokescreen on top of an enemy and allows your teammates to come in from the side without the enemy seeing your teammates coming. Now, this does have a catch. It only works if the champion is inside the smoke screen. As soon as the champion leaves the smoke screen, they will have full movement and they will have full vision again. So use it wisely, guys, because once they leave that smoke screen, it's pretty much useless. You're going to want to put 1 point into smoke screen early on, maybe level 2 or 3, and then leave it until the end and max it last. The next power Graves has is called Quick Draw. This is Graves' probably most versatile power out of all of his abilities. He can use this in many different ways to get in out of fights, to get into fights, just to increase his attack speed. It's very helpful. What it does is it allows Graves to dash forward, gaining an attack speed boost for several seconds. Hitting enemies with a basic attack while this ability is active will reduce the cooldown of this skill. As I said, very helpful, and you want to end up maxing this second. Put a point into it at around level 2 or level 3, and then leave it until after you have mastered Buckshot. Graves' final active ability is Collateral Damage. This is his ultimate and his R button. What it does is it is pretty much like Buckshot, except it has a bit more of a range. It only has 1 bullet, and it fires through every enemy like crazy. It does a lot of damage. What it does is it allows Graves to fire an explosive shell, dealing heavy damage to the first champion it hits. After hitting a champion or reaching the end of its range, the shell explodes, dealing damage in a cone. So how you want to use this is you want to make sure that your enemies are lined up as much as possible when you are using collateral damage. When your enemies are lined up, you can shoot your collateral damage right down the middle of them and take them out as fast as possible. It'll create a huge burst damage, and it'll damage all the enemies in that area. Very helpful. Graves' final spell will be his passive spell. Now, this isn't actually an active. Every champion has a passive spell, and Graves is pretty damn beast, that passive that he has. It's called True Grit. It allows Graves to increase his armor and magic resistance the longer he remains in combat. Graves' passive is arguably one of the most powerful passives in the entire game. It allows him to have a huge armor and magic resist bonus at the very beginning of the game while in combat. What you can do to activate this passive is you can do anything that involves combat, whether getting hit by champions, whether hitting champions or minions. So it's very easy to activate this passive power, and it's very useful in those team fights and early game. Now that you have all seen a basic outline of Graves' different abilities and how to select them throughout the game, let's go into how to use them specifically in team fights. Team fights are very important in League of Legends, and if you don't know how to use your abilities properly and when to use them, then it can hamper your team quite a bit. So let's outline this as simply as I can. If you want to get high attack damage and you're close to the enemy, start out with a buckshot. The buckshot will enable you to do a lot of attack damage to the enemy as quickly as possible, followed up by a collateral damage, which will hit lots of enemies in the line and it'll deal a ton of damage. As you can see here, I lead with my buckshot on this Amumu and run into quick draw as quick as possible to get a little bit of extra attack speed. Follow it up with collateral damage on this Yi to pick up the double kill. Between buckshot and collateral damage, you have the ability to do a ton of attack damage. However, you do still need to hit basic attacks in between this, so don't use quick draw right away if you can help it. If you want to just get in there, do a little bit of damage and get out, then use your quick draw obviously to just get in there as quick as possible. Like what I did there. I got in there, I attacked that turret. Unfortunately, I died, but we did end up getting that turret very easily. As right here again, I do use my quick draw as quick as possible to get into that cannon and do a couple basic attacks on her to pick up that kill. I see my team is getting into a little bit of a fight over there. Unfortunately, I went the wrong way and was not able to help them right away, so I lead with my collateral damage to try and do as much damage to the remaining enemies as possible. I follow it up with a buckshot and a quick draw to get a little bit of extra attack speed and some damage in there. I throw that smoke screen on top of Amumu to disorient him and allows Jax to pick up the final kill. This is the final ace of the game and it allows us to push into the enemy base, killing all the inhibitors and finally pushing on to their nexus. So this is the end of my ability selection for Gravedigger. This is the first episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Graves is a fun champion to play, and he's probably the champion that I know the best in this game, so I'm happy to tell you guys how to play him, give you some tips on him. He's a great attack damage carry for your team, and is overall amazing if you know how to play him. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what I can do better. Give me some feedback. Give me a like. Give me a favorite. All that good stuff, and I'll see you later. I'm out. Peace! Victory!